Number 1193, built by Keith on February the 9th, 2023. Pay attention. I am the number one world leader of Unocracy.org, which totally replaces everything about everyone. It's based upon real-time direct democracy of Evote.one. The database is FOIA.ONE, and it really boils down to reinvestall.com. You see, the whole time is you have always been a shareholder. You have always had the moral obligation, responsibility, and spiritual and financial, everything, to deal with your own local issues. See, the problem is when you put money in the stock market on the left here, and by the time it goes through all these corporate executives and the government is only a pass-through, all of your assets are systematically drained by those who violate the laws because they're the ones who make the laws. It's why we call them Lucifer worshipers, and it's been going on for 6,000 years. The other solutions you see are your reality. And it always goes back to we treat every leader in the entire world as highly paid in cash project manager. No more stock options. And it does involve here, which we are delivering again today, KeithLawFirm.org. You'll notice that everything on this side, once the super wealthy, the elite, actually make all the laws, that's the end of the story forever. There's our direct phone number. Nothing else needs to be said. Oh, yes, it does. The USA government owes me $500 million and press conferences to identify 120 criminals who succeeded based upon Marietta Police Department 1.2506 that I personally filed February the 4th when I did a citizen's arrest with 8 Marietta Police Department's officers, particularly J.C. Scott and Wishon, right at Marietta Square, resulting in they flipped my police department report. I have the proof of that, certified, of course. And the most critical was I get arrested overnight with a TPO 11.1.71, 11.71 of the last 4 digits, overnight, February 23rd. I'm shocked. I'm blown away. So I hired Barry Victor Reynolds. 5 months later, I personally have him get it canceled, dismissed. And then I get arrested October 3rd, 2011. I get kidnapped and persecuted for 2.5 years based upon Robert D. Rose, the original super international criminal. And I've got the documents. In fact, this is what I'm printing off right now. That alone shows what's going on, and I just pulled it off my printer. So there's the police department report, and that's just the middle of this unbelievably true reality of you are getting screwed. All of your taxes, which is why you foot the bill of everything, that's the basic root problem of the entire world, and this one database solves the problem forever. By the way, solutionmilitary.com is solution law enforcement. And we have a zero secret society, means no crimes will be committed and go unpunished. And the big one is who owns what, no taxes. We're going to know everything about the criminals and each other, all based on legally binding agreements, which is the original icstand.org. I'm like shocked. I'm living on Social Security and plasma donations just to foot the bills to complete Gods Unocracy.org. You see, we were all procreated to be free will sovereign citizens, which means you stand on your own 2 feet. And yet these people that go around going, oh, we're here to help you. We're here to serve and protect you. Oh, we're gonna give some money back to your community to build civic centers and senior citizen homes and state-of-the-art schools. Oh, no more private universities or private schools, because my system, reinvestall.com, will be the biggest transfer of wealth in world history, and it's caused by the corporate executives giving up 60% of their family assets. Not corporate. Well, yes, it is corporate because we're only going to have credit unions, locally owned credit unions, where the loan out rate will be like 3%, and you'll get 2% on your savings and checking account. Do you get that? 3% out, 2% back in your pocket. That means that your investments will never go up or down in value based upon speculation. In stock market, you're going to sell off everything in any publicly traded stocks, and every corporation will now be privately held, which means it's going to take days, if not weeks or maybe months, to transfer your stock from one company to another. So there will be no pirates of the high sea. You get it? Corporate, and I politely call them CoPirates rather than corporate. Most corporate executives are perfectly fine. They're happy. They live in little country clubs. They have great little homes and families and communities. Oh, but the criminal ruling elite are the Robert D. Roses, the Alexander Cyclone Coveys, the Barry Victor Reynolds, even Jimmy Deal here in Norcross. And I'm going to visit Ross Grisham in Kenton because he knew all about that there was no legal reason for me to be put in handcuffs at the cost of billions. That's the right word, $40 billion worth of assets were criminally taken by first Sherry Duncan, Kyle Duncan, Matthew Duncan, then murdered Brian Walker. And it's all based upon Miss Bashama and Wendell Carraway. That's the sequence of crimes. But there's been so many, it's called a paper chase conspiracy, where no spoke of the wheel knows what the other spoke is doing. And all these stupid dumbasses, and they really are, jackasses is a better word, all they had to do was sign and push the paper forward because they got paid. They got paid. And I have Tom Hegg out in Las Vegas who knows this. In fact, everyone knows it. Tens of thousands of people know exactly who is Keith Brent Duncan, and Fortune1.org. The list of accomplishments that we have made, we have gifted back to world 8 billion people now unified with Evote.one. Then we have free education, free communication. Oh, free communication, no more phone bill. Basically almost free electricity and definitely free water. If you have free water and free electricity, you can build anything, including your own power plants, your own car manufacturing, joydrive.us. And it's all based on turnofflights.com, which we had everything. 1976, you can see that on our resume and our bid out called bidonkeith.com. We're currently still printing the final, this is duncanclaim.org, and it's based upon everything that happened to me happened to you. Can you see that we're the only people who were 20 years ahead of the rest of the world? Apparently, I was sent by God alone because I see nobody out there who's a philosopher, no one who's a scientist, engineer, frontliner, humanitarian, guardian angel, philanthropist of givingpledge.space, which is the wealthiest people in the world. We're setting the number one example and the only system to unify the world where every community stands on its own 2 feet. That is peacesummit2020.com. So we're calling for the most peacemaking, peacekeeping, revolution, revolt, which means you reverse the voltage, revolt, you get that? Called staged coup, C-O-U-P, to kick out President Putin, the Russian billionaires, the Chinese Communist Party, the Fatso in North Korea, and then we'll go after, yes, literally, go after the infrastructure that we own the infrastructure because we built it. Our work efforts, we God's people are the one who built the world, but we only did it with God's technology that we've clearly expressed at creatorkeith.com that used to be builtbykeith.com. And it really goes back to BOASOS, which is, it's wonderful, Business Owner Advisors. SOS means everybody needs help. And that's done with 5steps.life. That's God's generator that's generated everything else, including solution gun control, solution law enforcement. The list is endless, but the biggest one is godsconstitution.org.com. But it also involves solutiondrugs.com, how everyone can use a simple piece of paper and a pen, and they can reverse any addiction in only 5 steps. But each person must take moral responsibility and accountability for themselves, and then take responsibility for act with fearless authority to protect the rights of all others first, before you think of yourself, called the number one problem in the entire world, which is the Lucifer worshipers using devil's advocate. What's in it for me? That's all that anyone really, really cares about. Tell the truth. Have you actually served your neighbors? Have you actually not worshiped God? Because God, my Father God, doesn't need to be worshiped. What a revelation. He doesn't need to be, because He procreated you and everything that you have around you. He created the technology that surrounds me right now. I had a hand in producing the backbone of the internet with Chuck Link, BBL Industries, Digital Communications Associates, SunGuard Trust System, which is now Truist. Still have a really bad problem with that word truth, because we can't find anyone who has integrity. And there's no one enforcing constitutional laws. But then it proceeded on to BB&L, to Broadway and Seymour. And then I worked for IBM. I worked for Matrix Resources, mostly at AT&T, for the last 30 years, about 16 years of the last 35 years. But I've always worked for you, my most believed people. The only thing you must do is to take action. I hate protest rallies. I much prefer host-mediating PeaceSummit2020.com town hall forums, where everyone who brings the problem to the table is required to provide the solution using 5steps.life and Keith's Rules of Order. And I'm speaking generically because I've been to press conferences and national news coverage since 2010, in fact, even earlier, because I had already been sent by God to unify the world. Now, you'll notice I'm not reading a script. All this is not only in my head, it's on the internet, particularly on YouTube/Unocracy, UNIocracy/playlist. And the original was IC Stan, spelled ISEE Stan. And that's critical because this was the original selfie stick that was designed to stabilize the world so that it wouldn't shake up and down. And right now the brightness is on both sides of me. I'm stuck in Atlanta, but we're heading back up to Asheville, North Carolina to move my $40 billion Fortune1.org. We are actively hiring, recruiting, enlisting 200 of the top level corporate executives at any age level, but you have to have an expertise. You're going to own the companies, 100 companies called non-government organizations, immediately upon the first day you start work. We will provide everything you need, which is your car, your housing, your food, your support, your office building, and the technology that we have been procreating. It's really started in 1972, but really went full scale 1976. The spirit of original 1776. We the people of, by, and for the people is the definition of the government. We're going to totally get rid of the government except for 4 people at the mayor level, city council, well, it's really mayor, city manager, and city council. The judges and, of course, the police chief are under our control. If they don't perform, we replace them with runner-up 2, runner-up 3, runner-up 4. Instant election. Don't need congressional investigations, but we're going to have congressional investigations through Senator Raphael Warnock, who's here in Georgia. He's going to call for federal investigations of the FBI, the Attorney General, in fact, everyone tied to 22-13042-68, which is on the very top of DuncanClaim.org. This alone will put me back on national news.
Could you try again?
Oh, I got my computer speaking to me. Call me today, 770-377-2106, and we all now get rid of the Lucifer worshipers forever.